Speaking of progressives and neoliberals, one of the things that I had to mention today, because it just dropped in the blogosphere, and then we got a municipal broadband story after that, and then we're going to talk heavy Portland. But first, they announced the lineup for the DNC convention. Sarah, this is real exciting stuff. This is like, it's almost like if you were booking a music festival, but your objective was to make everybody cry, you would come up with this awesome lineup. Check this out. So Monday they got Bernie Sanders, which, they put Bernie up as far away from Joe Biden as they could, which is interesting. And then here's the lineup for Monday. It includes Cuomo, Gretchen Whitmer, Jim Clyburn, John Kasich. There's that wide tent, or however they put it. John Kasich, he's speaking. Doug Jones, that's the guy who was so inspirational he barely beat a pedophile, if you remember that guy. Then on Tuesday, we got Sally Yates, Chuck Schumer, that'll be a doozy. John Kerry, the guy who couldn't beat George W. Bush. Let's hear what he has to say. AOC, here we go. Bill Clinton, Jill Biden, because, the Democratic Party's evolving. That's why they have names like that. Bill Clinton, still got to hear from him. Wednesday, Pelosi. That's going to be, there we go. Hillary Clinton, Liz Warren, Tony Evers, Gabrielle Giffords, and Barack Obama speaking. Again, like all the people they highlight, it's just like, oh yeah, this thing's changing. Joe Biden, the Clintons, the Obamas. Let's see. Thursday, Cory Booker, Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, Tammy Baldwin, Tammy Duckworth, Chris Coons, Kamala Harris, Biden family, Vice President Joe Biden. They're letting Biden headline. I don't know how I feel about that, but he's got the headlining spot. I guess that's the way they got to do it. I personally would rather see a battle of the bands or something if I had to choose.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting here I think Multnomah County, where I live, went 98% for Obama, right, when he ran for office. So we have nonpartisan local elections here. Everybody's a Democrat, and it's more what shade of blue are you? And a lot of us are virgin to green. I'm a lot more green even than I am blue when it comes right down. But we have nonpartisan local elections. One of the things that we're seeing is the tension between the establishment, which is largely corporate backed, and people like, say, the Squad, who represent the new face of America. And I would love to see the establishment recognize the power of this new movement, these youth, these younger leaders, these more diverse leaders, these women leaders who are saying status quo is not working. And the longer that you keep trying to tell us that these non-threatening choices are our pathway to a sustainable future, the longer it's going to take us to actually be sustainable. And it really does seem to be a blind spot, but I can only guess that it's a corporatization, right? And how these elections are funded and how these parties are funded that's really driving this.
Yeah, see, I would say it's more sinister than that even, because I think, yeah, the funding is the big problem. And I think as a result of that, you kind of have an entity whose first priority is not winning and whose first priority is certainly not appeasing the base. 80% of the Democratic base, which means, the voters, the people who aren't Republicans, basically, they want stuff like single payer Medicare for all. They want a Green New Deal. They want free college. They want all these things. Yet the powers that be will not allow it to happen. Why? Well, because the donors don't approve of that. And so I really think the first priority is making sure the donors are happy, making sure the status quo doesn't shift at all. And if you can maintain all that and beat a Republican or two in the process, great. If you can't, well, the gravy train keeps rolling, so no big deal. As long as you occasionally win here and there, just so the facade's kept up, cool. If not, well, oh well. I mean, I really think it is... after 2016, for me personally, all of my greatest, basically all of my worst suspicions about the Democratic Party were just proven true. Like all of my worst, like all of the I don't know about this, but they're not the Republicans. But all of my worst suspicions were proven true. Where it's like, yes, this is an institution that would rather have John Kasich be part of it than Nina Turner.
Well, I mean, for me, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a publicly financed candidate. And it has completely shifted the ground on which I campaign. And it's pulled the rug out from underneath my opponent because there are two policies that came online at the same time that are changing the rules of engagement altogether. And it's really bringing home for me what campaign finance reform could do for this country in terms of our politics, apart from the cult of personality and popularity contest that we talk about in terms of pop culture. Like AOC has managed to walk that line by engaging a whole new set of younger voters and getting people into interested in politics and engaged in politics. But my campaign, because I do not have to take checks from, and frankly cannot take checks from, the same 400 people who've essentially been electing mayors downtown Portland, as long as we've been electing mayors, suddenly I don't have to pick up the phone for them if I don't want to. And sure, I will take a donation from them. My campaign contribution cap in this race is $250 per individual, no PACs. Right. No corporations, not even off your small business. You can't write me that. So it's not like I'm like, I won't take your money, but also my next door neighbor who's the firefighter, my next door neighbor who's the school teacher, my next door neighbor who works at the hospital, they all wrote me a check for $250 too. So do you want to come to the table and be a part of this community and have this conversation? Because you don't get to drive this conversation anymore. And it's also meaning that a larger swath of people are getting to have their voice represented in me, so that as I'm campaigning, I get to say the truth, and I don't have to take that safe line that's going to keep the downtown business establishment happy, because we know that their model's not working. Right. Yeah. So it's been this empowering thing where me being able to go to a street newspaper vendor and say, hey, man, I need your $5 because it helps me qualify for public financing. Like, can you give me this $5? I know you're unemployed. I know you're homeless, but do you have a 5 spot for me? And them saying, OK, I'm going to give you this 5 is like other people used to go and try and get a $5,000 or $10,000 check from a downtown developer. And it upends the power structure in our city. So when I'm elected, the people who are going to have that open door to my office are the folks who are on the ground at the grassroots crafting policy that's like edgy and viable, because they're living those lives. And I think it's going to be pretty transformative. It's the least sexy part of my campaign. We've got a lot of amazing policies, but this one, it's just a game changer.
Well, yeah, and also you're going local, which is like, as you've kind of hinted, so much more transparent. I'm certainly not naive enough to say there's no corruption on the local level too. Of course there is, but you can, when you put together the right ground game, there's just so much, it's easier to combat. It's easier to fight back. And you're kind of proving that on the ground.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news on with Ron.